Do you know that behind the glitz, charm, and brilliance that characterized Hollywood's golden age, there were also some startling scandals and outrageous charges? From the famous Errol Flynn to Spade Coolie, many celebrities in Hollywood have been implicated in crimes or charges that have subsequently become legendary, ranging from violent crimes to personal wrongdoings. Here are 12 unbelievable crimes that Hollywood stars from the golden age were accused of. Number 1. Rosco Arbuckle. A trailblazing silent cinema actor, comedian, and filmmaker, Rosco "Fatty" Arbuckle was renowned for his slapstick humor and bulky build. One of the most well-known comedians of the 1920s, he contributed to the development of early Hollywood comedy. However, his career was finally ruined by one of the most dramatic scandals in movie history. He grew up in a household with little financial resources. Arbuckle's early exposure to the entertainment industry came from his father's work as a theater manager. He relocated to California as a young man in order to pursue a career in show business, and he soon secured employment in vaudeville. He quickly gained popularity due to his ability to make people laugh with physical humor and his exuberant attitude. After starting his cinematic career in the 1910s, Arbuckle joined Keystone Studios in 1913, where Mack Sennett served as his mentor. His persona was frequently portrayed as a foolish yet endearing man, and he gained recognition for his physical humor. During the silent film era, Arbuckle had great success and starred in numerous short films, many of which Sennett produced. He used a combination of pratfalls, exaggerated gestures, and his distinctive fatty demeanor to create his distinctive comedy style. At the height of his career, he was also among the most paid performers in Hollywood. Arbuckle, who starred in movies including The Butcher Boy and The Rounders, was a box office success. He demonstrated that he was more than just a comedian by directing several of his own movies in addition to acting. In 1921, Arbuckle faced accusations of raping and causing the death of actress Virginia Rappe. This incident took place during a raucous party at the St. Francis Hotel in San Francisco, where Arbuckle and several friends, including Rappe, were celebrating. Rappe was later discovered to be gravely ill and passed away a few days after the party due to peritonitis resulting from a ruptured bladder. After Rappe died, there were a lot of accusations that she had been sexually abused by Arbuckle, which caused her injuries. Although other accounts suggested that Rappe had gotten into a fight with Arbuckle in his hotel room, the media's image of Arbuckle as a drunk, unruly person greatly swayed public opinion. Arbuckle was taken into custody and put on trial 3 times for Rappe's murder. The second trial was ruled a mistrial after the first trial resulted in a hung jury. Arbuckle was exonerated of all accusations at the third trial, which took place in 1922. After only 6 minutes of deliberation, the jury returned a not guilty decision and made a public statement stating that they were convinced that he was innocent. Arbuckle's reputation was ruined even though he was found not guilty. His Hollywood career, which had been among the most lucrative, was essentially ended. The controversy severely damaged his reputation, and he was prohibited from appearing in big-budget Hollywood projects. Number 2. Errol Flynn. Errol Flynn, renowned for his swashbuckling performances in adventure films and striking good looks, was one of Hollywood's most iconic and compelling performers during the Golden Age. In the 1930s and 1940s, he rose to fame and is best known for playing fearless heroes in movies like Captain Blood, The Adventures of Robin Hood, and The Seahawk. While Flynn's extravagant on-screen character shaped his career, his off-screen life was equally theatrical and sensational, rife with scandals. Flynn's acting career started in England, where he starred in a few movies, but his big break came when he relocated to Hollywood in the early 1930s. After agreeing to a deal with Warner Brothers in 1935, he landed his first significant role in the instantly successful film Captain Blood. Flynn played a handsome pirate hero in the movie, a part that would come to define his career. His act received a lot of applause and made him a Hollywood star very fast. When Flynn was accused of statutory rape by two adolescent girls in 1942, it was one of the most notorious incidents in his life. Flynn allegedly wooed 15-year-olds Jane Alger and Betty Hansen at his house. Due to the sensationalized charges, the trial turned into a circus for the media. The girls had a history of promiscuity and had made up the tale, according to Flynn's defense. Although Flynn was exonerated of all charges, his reputation was badly damaged by the trial. Flynn had a reputation for having a lot of affairs, and rumors of this were common. The tabloids often featured his relationships, and he was married 3 times. In addition to contributing to his exaggerated persona, his romantic pursuits caused uproar. He had turbulent relationships in all of his marriages, particularly his first to actress Lily Demita. Flynn's extravagant off-screen life was well known. He had a reputation for drinking excessively, going out to parties, and acting carelessly. In the 1940s and 1950s, Flynn's lifestyle became troublesome. He was reportedly frequently late to sets, challenging to deal with, and involved in fights when intoxicated. Additionally, he was said to have ties to members of organized crime. Apart from the rape case, Flynn had other run-ins with the law. In 1940, police arrested him for attacking a photographer. He also had trouble managing his finances. Even though his career brought him success, Flynn found himself in money troubles. Errol Flynn passed away in 1959 at the age of 50 due to a heart attack, which was probably a result of his long history of heavy drinking and an unhealthy lifestyle. Unfortunately, a career that was once filled with promise and success is now overshadowed with a notorious incident that took place in their lives. Number 3. Charlie Chaplin. Charlie Chaplin stands out as one of the most significant figures in cinema history, celebrated for his unforgettable portrayal of the tramp, a lovable yet destitute wanderer. As an actor, director, and composer, Chaplin made remarkable contributions to film, especially during the silent film era, that remain unmatched. Chaplin experienced a difficult upbringing. He spent a large portion of his life without his music hall performer father, while his mother battled mental illness. Chaplin began his career in show business at an early age after spending time in workhouses and orphanages. In Britain, vaudeville is a popular live entertainment format, and he was already playing in it at the age of 14. Chaplin immigrated to the U.S. in 1912 and joined the Fred Carno Company, a vaudeville group that paved the way for the rise of a number of well-known comedians. Chaplin's first film contract came in 1914 when his performance with the company attracted the notice of Mack Sennett, a significant player in early American film humor. Chaplin got caught in a scandal at the beginning of the 1930s after it was alleged that he had an affair with actress Joan Barry and was the father of a child with her. Barry accused Chaplin of being the father of her kid and sued him for paternity in 1944. Despite Chaplin's strong denial of the accusations, a legal battle followed. Even though DNA testing, which was not yet available, eventually proved that Chaplin was not the kid's father, the jury nonetheless found against him despite his evidence to the contrary, and he was sentenced to pay child support for the child. The public frequently scrutinized Chaplin's marriages, especially his relationships with considerably younger women. When he married Lita Gray, his second wife, in 1924, she was just 16. Chaplin was 35, which caused controversy because of the significant age difference. They divorced in 1927 after a turbulent marriage marred by financial arguments and adultery claims. Despite their considerably more private marriage, his third wife, Paulette Goddard, was likewise much younger than him. Chaplin wed Una O'Neill, the author Eugene O'Neill's daughter, in 1943. At the time, Una was 18 and Chaplin was 54. They had 8 children together, and despite their age gap, their marriage lasted until Chaplin's passing. Chaplin's life was stabilized by Una, although the marriage was sometimes ridiculed for the significant age difference. Chaplan was accused of having communist sympathies since his films frequently featured complex criticisms of capitalism, and he was a vocal supporter of the working class. When the U.S. government began retaliating against suspected communists and those with left-wing tendencies during the Red Scare, this was particularly concerning. Chaplan's re-entry permit was canceled by the U.S. authorities in 1952 when he was in England for the premiere of Limelight. The FBI had been looking into Chaplan at the time for suspected communist connections. The U.S. government essentially banished Chaplan by forbidding him from returning to the nation, even though he was never officially charged with anything having to do with communism. The last years of Chaplan's life will be spent in Europe, mostly in Switzerland. Number 4. Clara Bo. In the year 1905, Clara Bo was born in Brooklyn, New York. She had a rough upbringing because of her abusive father and mentally sick mother. Bo experienced financial hardships and was placed in foster care for a while. She was determined to succeed in show business in spite of these obstacles. She became well known through beauty pageants and eventually secured a job as a movie extra. In a movie, Bo played a flapper girl who uses her charm and self-assurance to win her love interest's heart. This was her breakthrough performance. She became a jazz-age icon after her performance in and it catapulted her to stardom. It was supposed to stand for a captivating, alluring charm, and Bo was the epitome of it. Although her early sound movies, such as The Saturday Night Kid and The Wild Party, were box office hits, her career started to wane as sound movies became more common. Bo's career was also negatively impacted by her private life, which included turbulent romances and controversies. Rumors about Bo's sexual orientation and personal relationships were common in the tabloids. Many stories centered on her romantic life, and she was frequently portrayed as a wild, promiscuous lady. Her affair with Rudolph Valentino was one of the most well-known events. Bo subsequently denied having a brief affair, despite the fact that it was widely published. Furthermore, stories of wild parties and affairs appeared to follow Bo everywhere she went, and curiosity surrounded her interactions with other men. Early in the 1930s, Bo was involved in one of the most damaging scandals to his career. Actress Barbara Lamar, a former employee, accused Bo of spreading sexually transmitted illnesses and having several affairs. Whether this widely reported accusation is totally accurate, it helped shape the public's perception of Bo as a careless and promiscuous person. Throughout her life, Clara Bo also dealt with serious mental health issues. She experienced mental breakdowns and found it difficult to handle the expectations of Hollywood as a result of her terrible childhood and the pressures of stardom. According to reports, she was diagnosed with nervous fatigue and even experienced mental health problems that caused her to temporarily withdraw from the public spotlight. She had problematic relationships in both her personal and professional lives as a result of her emotional difficulties and unpredictable behavior. Number 5. Spade Coolie. Spade Coolie became a mainstay of Western swing, especially in California, where he rose to prominence in the entertainment industry following World War II. He was well known for his upbeat performances and skill at fusing jazz and swing elements with traditional Western music. Coolie performed with some of the biggest names in Western and country music, and his band was frequently featured on major radio and television programs. Coolie's recording of Shame on You, which peaked at number 1 on both the country and pop charts in 1945, was one of his greatest hits. His popularity grew throughout the 1940s and 1950s, and he made appearances in a number of Western films and television series, further solidifying his reputation as the symbol for the Western swing movement. In the 1940s and 1950s, Coolie made several appearances in B-Western movies, frequently using his musical abilities to further the plot. He starred in movies like Bells of Rosarita and The Phantom Stagecoach. He became well known to Western moviegoers because of his roles in the genre. However, Spade Coolie's personal life was much less glamorous. His wealth and fame did not shield him from personal problems, and his relationships were characterized by dysfunction, especially his 1938 marriage to Ella Mae Coolie, née Evans. The savage murder of Spade Coolie's wife, Ella Mae Coolie, in 1961 marked the beginning of the most notorious period of his life. Spade brutally attacked Coolie's wife after a furious disagreement with him in March 1961. After a swiftly intensifying altercation, it was said that Coolie had hit Ella Mae several times before killing her. After the murder, Coolie initially tried to cover up the crime, but the authorities soon learned of the violent nature of their relationship, and Coolie's abusive behavior was well documented. Ella Mae had reportedly been seeking a divorce at the time of her death, and her death was believed to have been the culmination of years of abuse. Spade Coolie was arrested and charged with first-degree murder after his wife was brutally murdered, shocking the public, especially considering his popularity as a beloved entertainer. Spade Coolie was granted parole following his release from prison, but he was never able to regain his previous level of fame. He battled the fallout from his deeds and was mostly ignored by the general public. Spade Coolie lived in relative obscurity following his criminal sentence and passed away from stomach cancer on November 23, 1969, at the age of 59. His story is indeed a fall from grace. A well-respected figure now became a subject of mockery. Let's dive more into the lives of other celebrities. Number 6. Eddie Cantor, one of America's most well-liked radio hosts, was Cantor. He rose to prominence on NBC Radio with programs like The Eddie Cantor Show and Eddie Cantor's Hour, and was particularly well known for his unique voice and sense of humor. His devoted fan base grew as a result of these radio shows, which were incredibly successful. He was an ideal fit for the stage-to-screen move because of his distinctive mix of comedy, song, and wit. In the 1930s, he quickly found work in Hollywood and rose to prominence at RKO Pictures. The Kid from Spain and Palmy Days are two notable movies. During this time, Cantor's charm and comic approach made him a box office favorite. He had many hit tunes, such as Merrily We Roll Along, If You Knew Susie, and Making Whoopee. He was also a gifted songwriter. Cantor was a well-known extrovert who frequently portrayed a lovable, outgoing figure full of heart and humor. He became one of the first celebrities of Hollywood's golden age and became an iconic figure. His reputation as a family-friendly entertainer and funny man was widely held. Eddie Cantor had a strong commitment to charitable work and was among the first well-known celebrities to actively support and generate money for the March of Dimes, a nonprofit that fought polio, an epidemic that afflicted a lot of kids in his day. He was also a lifelong philanthropist and a proud supporter of Jewish organizations. Eddie Cantor was charged with tax evasion in the 1940s. He was under investigation by the IRS for allegedly mismanaging his funds and failing to pay a significant amount of his taxes. Cantor had a complex financial life, and his sources of income weren't always accurately disclosed, like many other celebrities of the day. Additionally, he made a number of investments in unsuccessful commercial endeavors, which resulted in financial issues. Cantor was compelled to respond to the accusations in the media, and the matter resulted in a highly visible tax probe. His reputation at the time was damaged by the scandal, but he finally reached a settlement with the IRS and paid the taxes he owed. Given Eddie Cantor's prior reputation for a clean image and dedication to philanthropic organizations, this was especially startling. He had developed a family-friendly image over the years, which was in sharp contrast to his role in the tax fraud case. Eddie Cantor also experienced personal tragedy in the late 1950s when one of his daughters passed away due to problems during childbirth. Cantor withdrew from the public eye in the years that followed these failures. Number 7. Jean Harlo. Renowned American actress Jean Harlo, known as the blonde bombshell of Hollywood, was one of the biggest movie stars of the 1930s. Born in Kansas City, Missouri on March 3, 1911, as Harlan Harlo Carpenter, She rose to fame with her platinum blonde hair, seductive appearance, and comedic timing. Following her signing with MGM in 1931, Harlo's ascent to prominence was swift. Public Enemy was one of the popular movies she starred in, helping to make her a huge star. But her part with Clark Gable in Red Dust was what really established her status as a member of Hollywood's elite. Her subsequent major motion pictures included Dinner at 8, Hold Your Man, and Bombshell, which was a reflection of her own public image. The unexplained death of Jean Harlo's first husband, Paul Byrne, was one of the major scandals that marred her life. Byrne was discovered dead in their house under strange circumstances just 2 months after the couple's 1932 marriage. Although suicide was declared the official cause of death, there was a lot of conjecture and rumors surrounding the case that suggested a more dark motive. At the time, a number of tabloids speculated that Harlo might have been somehow involved in her husband's death, implying that she had caught Byrne in a compromising situation or had been involved in a domestic conflict, or that Byrne had been experiencing sexual dysfunction, which caused their marriage to break down. Harlo's early career was marred by the scandal surrounding her husband's death, and she was devastated by his passing. For years, Harlo was connected to one of the most enigmatic deaths in Hollywood, even though there was no proof that she was directly responsible for Byrne's passing. Jean Harlo was said to have had multiple affairs with well-known men, including fellow celebrities like Clark Gable and other members of Hollywood's elite, in addition to her marriages. Her reputation as a sex icon and a woman with scandalous affairs was further fueled by the media's obsession with her romantic life. Harlo was frequently the target of harsh moral criticism in the media due to her sex appeal and the fact that she was a divorced lady at a time when divorce was still frequently stigmatized. She was portrayed by some observers as a lady who was more concerned with her relationships and image than with her reputation or behavior. Additionally, scandalous accusations surrounding Jean Harlo's unexpected death in 1937 at the age of 26 clouded her final days. Many people speculated that the stress of her personal life and the intense media scrutiny had contributed to her health issues, as she had been experiencing severe symptoms for months that were initially misdiagnosed. Number 8. James Dean. American actor James Dean is renowned for his parts in movies that captured the rebellious attitude of 1950s youth. Because he portrayed disturbed young men in films like Rebel Without a Cause, East of Eden, and Giant, he became a cultural figure of angst and adolescent disobedience. Dean loved cars and was frequently spotted speeding through his Porsche 550 Spider. Some thought that his incessant risk-taking while traveling was a type of self-destruction and that he had a death wish. This raised the possibility that his terrible demise was not wholly unintentional, but rather the consequence of his own negligence or willingness to take risks. The Porsche 550 Spider that Dean was operating at the time of his death became part of the legend surrounding his disaster. Some people claimed that the vehicle was cursed or that its owners had been involved in prior terrible collisions, which fueled the exaggerated notion that James Dean was somehow luring fate. In the social climate of the 1950s, when Hollywood tightly controlled the personal lives of its stars, there were reports that Dean was in a relationship with men, including directors and other actors. Although it was never verified, there were rumors that Dean and his director Nicholas Ray were close during the filming of Rebel Without a Cause. Dean was also alleged to have had brief relationships with women, most notably with fellow actress Pier Angeli, whose romantic engagement was described as intensely emotional but tumultuous because of Dean's mental instability and family intervention. James Dean's reputation as a bad boy was reinforced by numerous tales of his defiance of authority. He was both a cultural hero and a thorn in the side of the Hollywood establishment, since he was not afraid to openly question conventions. There were charges that Hollywood and media outlets were more interested in profiting off his terrible death than appreciating his life. His image as a symbol of teenage rebellion was commercialized, and his memory became a tool for marketing and selling things. Number 9. Walter Wanger. American film producer Walter Wanger was well known for his work in Hollywood during the golden age of filmmaking. He was a well-respected producer who worked on some important movies in the 1930s and 1940s. Some of his most notable works include The Power and the Glory, Queen of the Night, Stagecoach, and The Long Voyage Home. Wanger's wife, Joan Bennett, was an acclaimed actress who had an affair with her agent, Joe Reinhardt, in 1951. There was a lot of strain between Wanger and Bennett as a result of this affair, which was widely reported at the time. Their marriage was badly strained as a result of the affair, which was well known in Hollywood circles. Walter Wanger challenged Joe Reinhardt on December 15, 1951. Outside the Tropics Motel in Los Angeles, Wanger shot Reinhardt in the groin out of envy and hatred over his wife's adultery. Hollywood was stunned by the shooting, which happened in a public setting and was extremely shocking and fascinating. Reinhardt was wounded but survived the shooting. After being taken into custody, Wanger was accused of assault with a deadly weapon. Wanger stated in court that after discovering his wife's infidelity, he had been enraged and jealous, and that this was the reason behind his acts. After receiving a great deal of media coverage throughout his trial, Wanger was found guilty of assault with a deadly weapon. He was released on good behavior after serving just a year of his 4-year prison sentence. The episode severely damaged his career, and the scandal tarnished his reputation for years to come. The shooting and his conviction left Wanger's career in ruins. He continued to work in the field for a few more years, but his prior impact diminished significantly. Despite working on a few lesser-known productions, he was no longer considered a significant force in Hollywood. Following the controversy, Wanger and Joan Bennett's marriage also ended. In addition to their 1960 divorce, Bennett's career suffered as a result of the violence and the affair's public notoriety. Number 10. Marlene Dietrich. In the late 1920s, Marlene Dietrich started her acting career in Germany. Her role as the seductive cabaret singer Lola Lola in Josef von Sternberg's The Blue Angel caused her to become famous throughout the world. Dietrich immediately established herself as a rising star because of her distinctive appearance, which combined elegance with a dash of danger. She relocated to Hollywood in 1930 and rose to prominence as one of the most renowned actresses of the time. Her reputation as a leading lady in film was established by roles in films such as Morocco, Shanghai Express, and Desire. She is particularly recognized for portraying enigmatic and exotic characters. Dietrich was still a well-known figure in Germany in the 1930s, before the war started, and her connections to the German film industry raised suspicions that she might have had sympathies for the Nazi government. When she first arrived in Hollywood, her success in Germany sparked questions about her allegiance. Dietrich's reputation, however, drastically changed after she relocated to the U.S. Over the course of World War II, she publicly denounced Adolf Hitler and his government, becoming a vocal opponent of the Nazis. She was given the chance to return to Germany as a national hero by the Nazis, but she declined. Despite her reputation for performing at military installations and working with American troops, Dietrich's actions were sometimes misunderstood as espionage. She was accused of assisting the U.S. government in secret activities against Nazi forces and of gathering intelligence while performing. Even though she played a vital part in the war effort, several people still questioned whether her espionage activities were more covert. Some Hollywood people continued to view Dietrich with suspicion after the war. Although she received a lot of accolades for her efforts during the war, her early profession and connections in Europe created doubts about how much she actually understood about the inner workings of the Nazi government before officially distancing herself. Number 11. Barbara Payton. With aspirations of becoming a movie star, Barbara Payton relocated to Hollywood in the early 1940s. After a while, she secured a deal with Universal Pictures and made several movie appearances. Her big break came in 1949, though, when she signed with Warner Brothers and acted in movies like The Lady and the Bandit and Kiss Tomorrow Goodbye. Clearly talented, Payton was a stunning beauty with the makings of a leading lady. However, personal issues and scandals that would shape her life on and off television would soon eclipse her profession. Payton and actor Tom Neal, who was married at the time, had a well-publicized romance. After a fight that would shape both of their futures, their friendship became notorious. Payton became known as a scandalous character in Hollywood as a result of her affair with Neal and her turbulent relationships with other men. Franchot Tone, an actor most renowned for his work in the 1930s and 1940s, was another person Payton had an affair with. This affair strengthened the impression that Payton was frequently associated with prominent men and involved in drama. The relationship between Payton and Tom Neal became violent in 1951. Neal viciously attacked Payton in a fit of rage after a night of heavy drinking, severely injuring her and breaking her jaw. Payton was admitted to the hospital as a result of the vicious attack. Following his arrest for the attack, Neal was freed upon posting bond. Despite the abuse, Payton continued to be involved with Neal for a while after the incident, which gained media attention. Physical abuse was common in Payton's relationships, and it's generally accepted that she experienced mental trauma that had long-term effects on both her personal and professional lives. She is an even more tragic figure in Hollywood history because of the violence that pervaded her relationships. As Payton's career failed, her financial condition deteriorated. She was also alleged to have had financial troubles, which were frequently connected to her extravagant lifestyle and failed romances. She had gone from being a rising star to someone who was having difficulty holding on to her position in the industry by the middle of the 1950s. Barbara Payton struggled with alcoholism and financial difficulties. She ultimately contributed to the demise of her Hollywood career by making bad decisions and leading a partying lifestyle. Barbara Payton's career soon failed, despite her early promise as a leading lady. By the mid-1950s, she had transitioned from being the lead in Kiss Tomorrow Goodbye to having small roles in lesser-known B-movies. Studios started to become disinterested in her as her personal life fell apart. When Hollywood abandoned her, her cinematic career took a severe turn for the worse. Because of her controversies, especially her violent romances, substance abuse, and generally unstable lifestyle, the actress was eventually banned in Hollywood. In 1956, she made her final notable cinematic appearance in the movie The Beat Generation. Number 12. Robert Mitchum. Mitchum's early years were challenging. Raising him and his siblings was difficult for his mother, who lost his father when he was still a young boy. He had a difficult childhood that included time spent in juvenile jail and working odd jobs like boxing and labor. Early life events would later shape Mitchum's tough guy on-screen personality. After relocating to California in the 1930s, Mitchum started working in the movie industry, first as an extra. He started to be recognized for his acting abilities by the late 1940s, which paved the way for a lengthy and prosperous career in Hollywood. Mitchum had his debut in 1944 when he portrayed private investigator Philip Marlowe in Edward Dmytrykh's noir picture Murder, My Sweet. He immediately rose to fame after receiving high appreciation for his performance. Mitchum was ideal for noir films because of his unique coolness and ability to play characters with a dark, complex edge. Mitchum was arrested for marijuana possession in 1948 during a police raid on a party held at his house in the Hollywood Hills. When the authorities stormed Mitchum's home, they discovered him and other drug users. They had been looking into a group of persons associated with the Hollywood social scene. Mitchum and a number of other individuals were taken into custody and accused of possessing marijuana. At the time, the case received a lot of media attention, particularly because Mitchum was becoming a more well-known star in Hollywood. After a trial, he was found guilty and given a 60-day prison sentence. After finishing his brief prison term, Mitchum continued to work in Hollywood despite his conviction. His career did, however, suffer a brief but serious setback as a result of the arrest, since some studios were reluctant to collaborate with him. Mitchum's image as an outcast and bad boy grew stronger in the aftermath, but it also contributed to his mystique, and he eventually adopted the rebellious behavior. He gained recognition for portraying characters with a morally complicated edge, and his tough guy persona eventually contributed to his appeal. Mitchum's career took a turn for the better in the years that followed. With roles in classic movies like Out of the Past, The Night of the Hunter, and Cape Fear, he rose to fame in Hollywood. Mitchum was able to get past the controversy despite his difficult past, and the arrest ultimately had little effect on his reputation. The incident became a footnote in his legendary career, as he was later praised for his extraordinary acting ability. To uncover more intriguing stories among Hollywood celebrities, don't forget to hit subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.